Welcome back to President Trump News Channel. Please subscribe and check notification bell. Thanks for being with us.
2 minutes, that's been.
I believe in this country. I believe in the American people. I believe that people are more good than bad. I believe tragic things happen. I think there's evil in the world. But I think that at the end of the day, if we work hard and if we're true to those things in us that feel true and feel right, that the world gets a little better each time. That's what this presidency's tried to be about. And I see that in the young people I've worked with. I couldn't be prouder of them. And so this is not just a matter of no drama Obama. This is what I really believe. It is true that behind closed doors I curse more than I do publicly.
Barack Obama rips Trump in his address about George Floyd's death. Former President Barack Obama will address the death of George Floyd for the first time on camera. The town hall, hosted by a branch of the Obama Foundation called the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, will focus on reimagining policing in the wake of continued police violence. Former Attorney General Eric Holder will join the president, along with a number of others. The discussion will center on recent tragedies such as the loss of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, as well as racial bias in the criminal justice system and the steps needed for change. It will be live-streamed at Obama.org. Obama last week said the death of Floyd at the hands of a Minnesota police officer shouldn't be normal in 2020 America, and later laid out plans for change. In a Medium post, Obama countered the argument made by some protesters that demonstrations will facilitate more societal change than voting. I've heard some suggest that the recurrent problem of racial bias in our criminal justice system proves that only protests and direct action can bring about change, and that voting and participation in electoral politics is a waste of time hereout. I couldn't disagree more. Obama added. The point of protest is to raise public awareness, to put a spotlight on injustice, and to make the powers that be uncomfortable. But eventually, aspirations have to be translated into specific laws and institutional practices, and in a democracy, that only happens when we elect government officials who are responsive to our demands. While the former president said that the current protests stem from a legitimate frustration over a decades-long failure to reform police practices, he roundly condemned the vandalism, looting and violence that has, in part, overshadowed the more peaceful aspects of the protests in many cities. The small minority of folks who have resorted to violence in various forms, whether out of genuine anger or mere opportunism, are putting innocent people at risk, compounding the destruction of neighborhoods that are often already short on services and investment, and detracting from the larger cause Obama wrote. He added. So let's not excuse violence, or rationalize it, or participate in it. If we want our criminal justice system and American society at large to operate on a higher ethical code, then we have to model the code ourselves. Obama lays out ideas for real change following George Floyd protests, criticizes looting and vandalism. Former President Barack Obama on Monday published a piece on Medium, addressing the nationwide protests in the wake of the death of George Floyd, laying out his ideas for how the country can sustain momentum to bring about real change, while also deriding the violence and looting that have occurred on the fringes of some demonstrations. The waves of protests across the country represent a genuine and legitimate frustration over a decades-long failure to reform police practices and the broader criminal justice system in the United States, Obama wrote. The overwhelming majority of participants have been peaceful, courageous, responsible, and inspiring. They deserve our respect and support, not condemnation. Thousands of people have gathered in cities across the country over the last few days to protest the police brutality and racial injustice following the death of Floyd, the Minneapolis man who died in police custody May 25, after Officer Derek Chauvin pinned down Floyd and kneeled on his neck for more than 8 minutes in a moment caught on cell phone video. Chauvin, who was fired from the force along with 3 other officers involved in the incident, was charged late last week with third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. He also was accused of ignoring another officer who expressed concerns about Floyd. Obama speaks out on George Floyd's death. This shouldn't be normal in 2020 America. In his post, Obama countered the argument made by some protesters that demonstrations will facilitate more societal change than voting. I've heard some suggest that the recurrent problem of racial bias in our criminal justice system proves that only protests and direct action can bring about change, and that voting and participation in electoral politics is a waste of time hereout. I couldn't disagree more.